Just a quick, if you guys could just, as always, every week, just let me know if the audio and video is good. Oh, I forgot my lights. Let me turn on the lights. Boop. Cool. Man, it's been exciting. So much amazing stuff coming up. Been working so hard. Being super, super crazy. For those of you that are attending live, I see we have quite a bit of people attending live today. That's pretty awesome. Thank you very much for coming in. Super awesome. We're going to be looking at some fun stuff today. I know a lot of you I see in the chat room have already had Foundation 6 for about a month or so. And I know a lot of you are enjoying it. People that were a part of the conference last month got early access, and they've been playing around and actually building some really cool websites already with it. It's been a blast getting their feedback and integrating it and back into the product and finding a bunch of obviously some issues up front. But I think things are pretty stable, and we're down the home stretch to get this bad boy released. And my goal is to get it out by the end of this month. But I still have a bunch of work to do. So, but I figured, you know what? It is time to start letting you guys see what it is. Let me fix this camera a little bit here. Okay, there we go. It's definitely time to start, sharing it more publicly and getting you guys access. So I already put in a link into the chat room, and I will put it again right now. And this is the upgrade link. So if you already own Foundation 1, you can use that link to purchase the upgrade. And you use the same email that you used before to purchase Foundation 1, and that will allow you to get the upgrade. That particular URL, I will expire it soon after the live stream. So I will not leave that up. It really is only for you that are attending live. Okay, so get on that. You get 20% off as an upgrade. But as I've said many, many times for probably 2 years, because the plan was there is no upgrade path of your websites from Foundation 1 to Foundation 6. Just to iron that out detail right up the front. If you want to use Foundation 6, you have to treat it like a new product, like it's a new framework, because it's completely new. I rebuilt everything from scratch. 99% of the code in there is completely new. What I did is I said, okay, if I were to build Foundation today from scratch, okay, instead of, let's rethink how I did everything. And if I were to rebuild it from scratch, how would I build it? And instead of trying to take the existing code and, upgrade it, and try to make it better, I just started from scratch. Everything is redone. It's exciting. It's all new. It's all better, faster, everything. So we're going to be diving into that. Now upgrade. So 20% off for the upgrade to Foundation 6. URLs in the chat box. And if you bought it from May of this year till now, I'm actually going to be giving you a free upgrade. Okay. So, if you want to shoot me an email, I can give you a free upgrade to that. I've been getting a ton of email lately, so it may take me a little longer than you might like, but so if you get a free upgrade if you purchased from May until today. Okay. If you purchase Foundation 1. If you purchase from January until May, you get a 50% discount. So if you bought from January 1st to right now or till May, you'll get a 50% discount on Foundation 6. So I think that's extremely generous, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I just want as many people as possible to get Foundation 6. And everybody else, if you bought it 6 years ago or if you bought it December 31st, 2018, you'll get that 20% discount. Okay, so if you have any issues with that with the upgrade, let me know. A lot of times people forget what email address they use to purchase it. You can go to my support page, and I have a bunch of or not a bunch. There is a utility there that lets you look up your past orders. So that can help you out, or you can just try various emails that you've had in the past to purchase foundation before, and you'll see whether or not an email, because it'll tell you whether or not that email address is valid for the upgrade. Okay. So cool. Commander Joy, where's the hat? You know what? I was in a rush today. My email server went down, which is why if you got 2 emails this morning, the deal of the week email should have went out yesterday. But I noticed this morning that the emails weren't going out at all. So I was trying to fix that. And then I have baby puppies. I had to go feed the baby puppies before the live stream. And actually this is, I didn't even do my hair today. This is my bed head. So not too shabby for bed head, but yeah, I guess the gel's still holding on from yesterday. Okay, so let's start diving into Foundation 6. For those of you that are already Foundation 6 users, this is probably going to be very basic for you guys because you guys are already pros. There are a lot of people here, though, that have never seen it. So we're going to be starting all the way at the beginning. Let's get things ready here. That and that. And boom. Okay. Let's launch RapidWeaver. Actually, for fun, I'm going to start a completely new project. Man, I think this is the most chatter we have ever gotten ever in a live stream. So that's pretty awesome. I guess people are raring to go and ready to see Foundation. So obviously, here is a blank RapidWeaver project, and let's go ahead and add a new stacks page because we all love stacks. Okay, just for fun, we're just gonna work on a single stacks page for right now, while all of our stacks load. There are some things. So we have Foundation 604 has been released already, so it's currently version 604. I'll probably release 605 this week, with just some very minor things that people have found, over the weekend and whatnot. So 605 will probably be released this week, but again, just very minor stuff. And one thing you will notice is that all the icons aren't finalized yet. So the icons that you see here, the colors and will probably be very similar, but right now, like they're all stars. They'll all have individual icons soon. I that's one of the last things I was hoping to get done this week, but it's already Wednesday. I can't believe it. So yeah, I'm designing new icons, trying to make something that's different than we've ever had before. So trying to come up with something really fun. But let's dive into it. So I think what we need to do is we're going to dive straight into what all of you probably want, which is like the control center of Foundation and the control center of everything. I guess first we need to make sure we set our theme. So we have new themes. So obviously there's a Foundation 6 theme. There's also a Foundation 6 left to right. Okay. We want Foundation 6. So cool. But we do have a left to right version as well. One thing that's also cool is the Foundation theme. You can actually use it now without stacks. So if you just want to hand code a site, the Foundation theme will work without a stacks page now. So that wasn't the case always in Foundation 1. In the latest version, it kind of required site styles to be on the page. Now it doesn't. So you can still use the Foundation theme to kind of hand code things if that's your thing. So next up, let's add site styles to the page, and boom. Site styles is so epic now, like really, 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 really epic. And again, go ahead. I mean, there's so much chatter in the chat box right now, but I will try towards the end to answer some questions. I'll try to keep an eye on it. I see a question about a promo code. Egbert, there is no promo code. Just use the email address that you use to purchase Foundation 1, and you'll get the 20% discount. It's all automatically applied. the system will notice that, hey, when you put in the email that you purchased Foundation 1 with, it will see that you already purchased it, and it'll auto qualify you for the upgrade. Okay. ET thinks that's cool too. He's right over my shoulder. So yeah. Actually, I just noticed that's like perfect placement for the ET, right? I mean, like I didn't even plan that, but he's just like right there. Okay, if it's not working for you, shoot me an email, and we'll figure that out. So yeah. Again, if you have any more order questions, obviously I'm not going to be able to help you out live during the live stream. Hopefully you can figure out what email you purchased. If not, shoot me an email, and we'll get you situated. Okay. So next up, obviously, site styles. So site styles is completely reimagined. It is now so much more than just styling a site. It is really the entire control center for building out our websites, and you'll see soon why it's so powerful. Okay. I'm gonna breeze through some of the features here to kind of show you later on. We'll kind of go back and forth to kind of show you why some of these features exist and how they're so cool. In Foundation 6. So let's look at the settings for site styles. So if we look at the settings for site styles, it's very similar to what we had before. Okay. We obviously you can also, there's detailed settings in here. So if you click on detailed settings, we get a lot of detailed settings. Okay. So we can see like the actual color values and whatnot. But we obviously have a compact view as well, which is the default. The background here is for the background, website background. So you can have just a solid color. Obviously the default is white. If you don't choose anything here, it's just a white background. You can have a background image, a background warehoused image, and then your own custom CSS. Okay. So, if you just, want to put maybe a gradient or something like that, you can definitely do that. And there's tons of great, sites out there that allow you to, generate CSS code for gradients and stuff like that. So a lot of fun. Next up is site width. So we have, obviously we have unlimited width, or you can set the default width. The default width is 1200. I've increased that from, I think it was 1000 pixels before. So, a lot of times we want, kind of the new thing is wider sites. So we go bigger, right? So I set the default to be 1200 pixels, but you set it to be whatever you want. Then we have all of our primary colors. Something that's different now is for alert, success, and warning. You have the ability to define the contrasting color now, right? So we can actually define, if we wanted, red, what is the color that's defined on top of that, right? So we can define the contrasting color between with alert, success, and warning. We've always had it for primary and secondary, but now we have full manual control over the others. The next up is we have the ability to do customize all of the component colors that are used throughout the theme, right? So the various, let's say, tabs and containers and sliders and, all the various, parts of Foundation use various shades of white to black. Okay. And now we allow you to customize all of that, straight from inside site styles. So why is that important? That's important because, let's say the site that I'm designing has kind of a blue tint to it, right? Well, now I can simply add maybe a slight blue tint to my white, right? So you can now really start to customize the look of things and to really make it your own. So there's even more control over that, right? So these whites through blacks are used throughout the theme for various components. They are generic colors, so it's like dividers or maybe the default background for a tab or something like that, right? Where you can now have full customization over what those colors are in your theme. So that's really cool. Next up, we have all of our text colors. So just as before, we have headers. We actually can define the subheader color now. We weren't able to do that before, and the small color. And then we have alternate, just like we had alternate colors in Foundation 1. But alternate colors in Foundation 6 are a lot more powerful. We'll dive into that in a little bit. But just let you know, alternates are completely powerful now. So, and we'll dive into that. Then we have text and hover links and all that jazz, and the selection color. And Then we have text sizing, right? So we have all of our default text sizing for the theme. So H1s through all the way through H6, as well as the default text size on the page and small header size. And one thing you might notice, or you might not notice, is that all of these are now in pixels. So Foundation 1 used a unit called rem. Okay, it was called root element actually. And it's a very good unit to be using for responsive because it actually varies the size of the content based on your device. So it'll actually make it slightly smaller on mobile because we tend to hold our mobile phones a lot closer than we are at our computer screens, right? Which is important. So, but defining things as like, I want 1.452 rem. Like, what does that mean? You're like, I just want this to be 10 pixels. What rem is that? Right? So I understood that this was important, but I also understand that it's important for our websites that we actually use these better metrics or units such as rem. So what I do is I let you define the pixels because we understand pixels, right? We understand what 48 pixels is. We understand what 25 pixels is, okay? But what the stacks do now is they convert that into rem for us, okay? So that it's completely transparent for you. You define whatever you want it to be in pixels, and it magically does the correct thing for us and uses rem, okay? So that's really, really cool. So there we go. We got pixels. That's a really cool thing. Sorry if I didn't zoom in on these other things. They're just color palettes, right? Further down the page, another nice thing that we added, which has kind of been a pain in the ass for a long time, with sites is styling lists, right? Because a lot of times we have bullet lists or numbered lists and we're like, well, I want my bullet list to be a square, or I want them to be Roman numerals or something like that, right? So now we can define those defaults for our entire site, right? So it's really nice. And not only can we define defaults, we can actually define defaults for the main list and then sub bullets. Because a lot of times you might want, the disk is the solid circle, and then circle is like the hollowed circle. And we can demo these in a little bit, but yeah, really cool. We can now define the default kind of styles for our lists within our site, which is really, really cool. And at the bottom, we have our default radius. Okay, sweet. Okay, so what else is cool about site styles? You'll see that there's at the top we have all of our component colors, right? So you can see all of our colors, and they're a lot larger than the Foundation 1 was. So it's really you can kind of really see your color palette. That's really important because that's going to be the colors used on our site. Next up is features. What are these? So what Site Styles tries to do now is it obviously one huge thing that we're all concerned about is performance, right? And performance where, right? We're concerned about performance inside RapidWeaver. We're concerned about performance of previewing our page in RapidWeaver. And ultimately, we're also concerned about the performance of our published web page. Okay? And I took all three of those things into extreme consideration when designing Foundation 6, right? And I think I've nailed it because all three of those should be like 10 times faster, and probably faster than anything else I've used in RapidWeaver, okay? Which is really, really cool. Because, it's at least any sort of framework-based thing, right? Because, we have to load a lot more because we're building our theme and our web pages all within stacks. Oh, man, I got something in my eye. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so what features does is it takes a lot of the components that used to be baked into Foundation and makes them optional, okay? So a huge example here is Font Awesome 4. So now, if you want Font Awesome 4, it is not loaded by default. Now, maybe you knew this or didn't know this. Whether or not you use Font Awesome or not, it's loaded on your Foundation 1 websites. Okay, so whether or not you're using any of the icons on your site, it's getting loaded. It's not optional. You can't turn it off. It's just there. And it's great when you're utilizing them, right? But if you're not using them, then it's just getting loaded for no good reason. Okay. So now it's optional, right? If you want to load Font Awesome 4, you load it here and it's magically loaded and you can use it throughout your web pages just like you did previously. Now, the big question is Font Awesome 5. That is coming. And I've talked about that before, how Font Awesome 5 will be included with Foundation 6. It just won't be there on launch day. Font Awesome 5 is extremely different. And a pro version of Font Awesome 5 license will ship with Foundation 6, so you can use it on all of your sites. But I need to develop and design a really good user-friendly way of loading Font Awesome 5 because it is so different than Font Awesome 4. So that is coming, probably 6.1 or so. We'll be getting something around Font Awesome 5. But for right now, we will have Font Awesome 4. Okay. Why can't I make the window bigger? I can zoom in. I can't really play around with my live stream settings right now, Paul. During the so here if you add the features, there are a bunch of features, and you'll also notice that there are third-party stacks here as well. So like there's CMS Core here. Okay, so what this allows us to do is we can add in other stacks in here. As you'll notice, we'll have, let's say, like SEO helper meta tags, right? So we got a bunch of stuff here. And what that does is it loads all of these within site styles. And what that's, again, that's my agent stack, CMS Core. This is total CMS. And this is SEO helper. None of these things ship with Foundation, but when you actually have them installed, when you own them, they magically show up inside of this drop-down menu. And because these tend to be things that we add to all of our web pages, right? So what happens is now we can now partial out this site styles on the page, okay? And then we can easily include it on all of our pages. So site styles now becomes the main control center for all of our web pages, right? So really, really cool. Over time, I'll probably add some more things as I get requested. I also made it so you can just kind of drag and drop things into here as well. Into this features one. If you find something that's kind of funky, let me know. But right now it is kind of locked down to these things. So like again, site lock prefix if you want that. And another good one's page safe, right? So if you add page safe, looks like page safe gets a little bit big. I should work on that. But what you'll notice is when you click on it, you can kind of see the details of these. And when you deselect it, it makes site styles as compact as possible. So you can kind of see what everything is there. But yeah. So next up, fonts. Here, let's clean up some of these things just to make our page a little less busy. Okay. Fonts. So fonts here, we have a lot of options here. Okay. And similarly to the features above, we have other third-party stacks that show in here that might be useful. Okay. For example, Font Pro. I know a lot of you already own Font Pro. So Font Pro is integrated directly into site styles now. So you no longer need to remember to add a Font Pro stack to the page. It's already ready to go directly inside Foundation. And you'll see those at the bottom here. We have Google Font Hoffler installed. All these ones that are labeled Pro, these are all coming from Font Pro. So if you own Font Pro, they will show up there. Pen is obviously, I'll show you why Pen is here. Pen is my free kind of notes stack. And then the ones that ship with Foundation, we have Font Style, WebSafe Font, and Google Font. Okay. So fonts are now managed individually here because now we can add as many as them as we want. We're not limited to what we had inside site styles before, which was basically you could define 3 fonts, right? One for H1, one for H2 through H6, and then one for your text, right? Now we have a lot more flexibility. Let's just look, let's say we'll add a WebSafe font. Okay. And let's look over here on the settings. We have, obviously you can define a label. Here you can define where things are selected. So if you're a Font Pro user, this probably looks a little familiar for you because I borrowed a lot of this from Font Pro into Foundation, right? So we can define whether or not we want to apply this particular font family. Right now it's set to Helvetica. We can define a bunch, right? You can also do custom definition, okay? And then here you can define if you want to assign this to an H2, an H1, an H5, or whatever, right? And then this particular font family will be assigned to those values throughout your project. And what's cool is you can have as many of these as you want, right? Obviously, we don't want to have too many web fonts, right? But let's go ahead and add a Google one so we can kind of see how that looks. Because I know a lot of you love Google Fonts because they're free, right? I mean, there's a great resource. So here you can kind of, the edit label here is kind of for notes purposes, right? Then we define our font family, which is the one we want to load from Google Font. And then there's some extended things for like acrylics and Latin extended and stuff like that. Define what weights you want. So you define what normal, what bold weight. Do you want to load italic and bold italic? Okay. And then just like before, the previous one, you then define all of the elements that are going to be applied to. Now up here, there's this thing called a swatch selector up here, which is class and component and CSS selector. We're going to be I'm going to skip that for right now. We're going to be looking at that in a little bit later, but that's a really powerful part of Foundation 6. And we're going to be seeing that a lot. Okay. You're going to be a pro at this swatch selector stuff. But for fonts, we have this other kind of this little table of buttons, this grid of buttons that allow you to easily select assigning it to a paragraph, assigning it to headers, assigning it to forms or block quotes or stuff like that, right? So really, really powerful stuff here. So next up is font styles. So what is a font style? It's essentially size, right? So you can define, again, we have sizes here inside site styles, and this is going to be a great place to start. This is like your base sizes for everything. But if you want to maybe have some custom sizes for something, you can do that here as well. Okay, and you can also assign a weight and italic to this particular one. Sweet. Sure, there's tons of questions, but we'll be getting into it soon. Next up is swatches. Now, swatches, these are the epic part of Foundation 6. And let me break out and talk a little bit about what swatches are. Actually, why talk about it when I can just show you the power of a swatch? So let's go ahead and let's just build a quick little layout. I'm going to build out, so there is a container stack now. Okay, and let's just do something super simple. I'm just going to do, I'm going to drop a one column in there. Let's just do that. And then what I can do is let's just do a text stack inside of there. So I have some text. Okay. And what I can do is I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm just going to copy paste it. Okay. And let's just preview this. Now, actually, before I preview this, okay, let's just see how fast this is. I've never previewed this, right? So there's zero caching going on right now. And yes, this is a simple page, but it is pretty much instant. Okay. There is no wait time. Okay. Now, obviously, as you add tons of complex other stacks, your usage will definitely vary. But I'm telling you, Foundation 6 is really, really fast. Okay. So what can we do? A lot of times in our websites, what we want to do is we want to have light sections and dark sections. Okay. So let's say this top section is going to be a light, quote unquote, light section. And this bottom section is going to be my dark section, right? Because we have bands of colors on our websites or whatnot, right? So what are some cool things that we can do? Now, remember how earlier I talked about how that alternate text colors is going to be really important and really powerful. And because those alternate text colors that we have are actually kind of a baked in swatch. Okay. It's our first, it's kind of our introductory into swatches. And what we can do is, so first off, if we look at our alternate text, it's already kind of white, right? So alternate kind of by default assumes that the background of that particular section is going to be dark, and the default colors are going to be light. Okay. You can obviously change that. If you want it flipped, you can do that. But if I want to add alternate colors to anything, okay, I simply go into a container, okay, or anything. There are these class settings, okay, throughout all foundation stacks. And if we go to this container stack, I'm going to go ahead and type the word alt in there. So here we have a classes setting, and this is something that was introduced in Stacks 4, and I've really embraced it. Okay, and go ahead and type the word alt. Okay, now this is a special one that is kind of defined by Foundation. Okay, and let's just go ahead and save that. So hit enter. And what you'll notice is over here, all that text magically became white. Okay. The links are still blue because alternate links are still blue. Okay. But what's really cool is all we had to do is type in that alt, and we got all of the alternate text colors for my entire layout there. Really, really cool. Now, if we preview this, we'll see that that's not very usable. Like, Joe, like, what the heck? Like, I can't read that, right? The text is there, but it's white. White on white doesn't work. So what can we do? Enter swatches. So when we have swatches, we have tons of swatches that come out of the box. And we have swatches for all kinds of stuff. And let's just go ahead and add a background swatch. So I'm going to go ahead and I added a background swatch. Okay. And let's look at the settings over here. We'll see that in a background swatch, let's look at that swatch selector that I told you that you're all going to become experts on. Okay, this is really important, but it's really simple. So we have class, and we have to give something a class name. Now, my alt class name is alt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say alt for here. Okay. Now these notes, these titles, this is just kind of notes to yourself. I've added that to a lot of the foundation stacks as well. So a lot of times we build some complex things and we need reminders to ourselves. This is good for that. Now let's look at the background settings. Okay. And I'm going to do something simple for right now. We have a lot of background settings similar to what we saw inside site styles we have, image backgrounds and warehouse backgrounds and CSS gradients and all kinds of stuff. But I'm just going to do a simple color background. So I'm just going to simply click black. Okay. Now remember, I added the class alt. So now whenever I add the class of alt to anything, it will get a background color of black. If I scroll down here, you'll see that it already happened here dynamically in edit mode. Right? So there we go. Preview. We now have, just by adding that alt tag, okay, we created something that was a name. We called it alt. Okay. Or actually that one's provided by Foundation. It creates alt for you. Okay. But just by adding that one name to my entire container, we can now have full style control over that one little container. Right? And if I go ahead and let's say, I'm building out my site a little bit more, and I now have two of these, right? Oops. Let's just preview inside RapidWeaver. I now have two of these, right? And you're like, shoot, you know what? I don't really like the black. I want to kind of go for maybe a darker blue, something like that, right? Well, it's pretty simple. Like instead of previously, what we would do is we would go to this container and we change the background color to be a dark blue, right? And then we go to this one, and then we'd have to copy and paste that RGB value or that hex value, and we have to try to make this one the same exact color blue. And then any other place inside of all of our other web pages that we use that color blue, we'd have to change that too, right? But now, since it's all controlled within site styles, all I need to go is I need to go to my background swatch and I say, well, you know what? I don't want to make alt backgrounds black anymore. I now want to make them blue. Okay. But not only that, let's go something even a step farther. I can actually choose a swatch color. So let's say I wanted to make them this primary color. Well, there they go. Okay, because we can actually choose background colors that are, swatches, okay, or component colors. right? Which is really cool. Or I can go ahead and I can say, I want to use custom CSS. And by default, the custom CSS is this nice gradient. And guess what? Everything that I added that alt class to magically gets that amazing gradient. Pretty cool, right? Hopefully you're seeing the power here, because we can now create other things, right? Now this was just alt, but let's say I wanted to do something called, here, let's keep alt as a color really quick. We'll keep alt as here. As I said, let's change it to a dark blue. Why not? Dark blue. Okay, so there you go. Don't know if you can notice that difference, right? But that went from black to a dark blue. Boom. Right? Pretty cool. Now let's say I wanted to, I guess before we dive into more into backgrounds, right? There's all kinds of swatches. We have stuff for component colors, text colors, backgrounds, borders, font colors, heights, margins, opacities, overlays, paddings, round corners, shadows, widths. You can do your own custom CSS if you're a coder and you want to really dive into stuff. Okay. Pen is here for notes and whatnot. And then we actually have third-party integrations as well now. And this is a really cool one. Let me show you the integration with wallpaper. So if you own wallpaper, which is one of my stacks, okay, I shipped an update about a week ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, that added support for Foundation 6 swatches. And when you add a wallpaper swatch, well, you'll notice we now have access to all of the patterns and gradients within wallpaper. And if I just simply, let's just create a, so I'm going to go ahead and over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to assign this style to a name, right? A class. And I'm going to call this wallpaper. Pretty simple. I create my own. I call it wallpaper. Okay. Now, whatever I add this to will inherit this style. So let's say this container right here, this top one. Okay. Let's say I wanted to add that background here. I could simply go wallpaper. Magic. This is really amazing because we're controlling site styles is now it really is site styles, right? It really is defining all the styles that we want throughout our site. It is a centralized place for everything. And if we ever need to modify it, we can modify everything in one spot, which makes less stacks on the page, because now, before I would have had to add a wallpaper stack to the page. And then if I wanted two of these, I would have had to add two wallpaper stacks to the page. Right? But now I could just have one wallpaper, assign it the style that I want, and then apply that style to anything I want just by adding a simple class name. So hopefully you're seeing the power in this, right? And we can do other things. Let's go a little bit farther. So let's say, I don't know. I'll do something that's probably hideous, but what we'll do is on this wallpaper, let's go ahead and do font color, right? So let's say I want, let's not do that. Okay. So hopefully you guys are seeing that. Let me quickly look in. Some people that are savvy are seeing, hey, Joe, this is CSS. Magic? Yes. I have basically made CSS for non-coders, right? All you have to do is you notice when you create something called a class, you can assign multiple styles to it. Okay. Here, let's do this. So let's say I want to add, yeah. Okay, let's just do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do text colors. Okay. And if you notice, this text color swatch is basically all of these colors up here. So you can now define complete text color replacements for a particular area. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and let's just say we're going to make headers. We'll make them purple. Why not? And then I'm going to make text. I don't know what color we're going to make text. Blue. That's probably going to look so horrible, but whatever. Okay. And then what I can do is I'm going to assign this to the wallpaper class that I created. Right. So over here, I changed my color. So I said my headers are purple, my text is blue. It's probably gonna look so bad. But then I added it to the class of wallpaper. Okay. And that text is gonna look so bad. Let's just make it white. We'll make it gray. All right, we'll make it white. Yeah, we'll make it white, and then I can do something else to it. Okay, so we'll make it white. Boom. You notice I assigned that to the wallpaper. If you look down here, inside edit mode already, we have this color of the text changed to white. The header changed to purple. Right? Pretty powerful stuff. Now, if we preview that white is like really hard to read, right? Okay. So, I mean, one thing we can do is, let's say on the wallpaper, we can like we'll remove the pattern. That makes it easier to read. Oops. I previewed in the browser. Let's just preview in RapidWeaver. Right. That makes it a little bit easier to read. Okay. But we can do other things, right? So, let's go ahead and let's say, an overlay swatch. So this is one I shipped actually last week. And what an overlay does is it allows you to kind of add an overlay between the background and the content. And so what I can do is I'm going to add a overlay. Let's just add a 50% black overlay. Here on the wallpaper swatch, we're gonna add that pattern back in. And then on this overlay, we're gonna do. I've actually used overlay in combination with swatch before. Actually, here, I want to show off. I want to show off background images as well. Let's show off this with a background image. Okay, so I'm gonna add another background, and we're gonna I'm gonna call this overlay. Okay, and we're gonna do a background image. I need a background image. How about this one? Boop. Okay, so I have a background image. I'm assigning anything that gets this overlay class will get this background image. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this container, and we can add multiple classes here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go. I had wallpaper, and I'm gonna do a space overlay. And voila, if you notice by magic, I deleted that wallpaper swatch that had the background color, but we still have the wallpaper colors, right? Here. And I still have my class overlay. We need to actually assign this to be on the overlay class. And if we preview that, what we'll notice here is I have my background image. I could probably adjust the spacing and whatnot of it, right? Another thing we can do is here, let's go ahead and add, let's add a height control. And we'll add this to overlay. And let's do a height of full browser height. And there we go. My container is now full browser height. I have my background image, and I added an overlay. I'm going to go ahead and delete this overlay really quick. So that's without the overlay, right? So we have our text, but as you know, it's text on top of an image sometimes is really hard to read. So that's why I added this overlay swatch that adds a 50% black between the background and the gradient, or background and the content, right? Really, really cool. So that's a really good play with swatches. And there is an infinite number of things we can do with swatches now. And I'm really, really, really excited for swatches. I think it will revolutionize the way we're going to be building websites from now on, because we're going to be able to design sites faster. That's actually the fourth thing that becomes faster, is we now can build our websites faster. Like, it will take less time to manage and build your website because of swatches and site styles. Because if you're designing things and you want to change stuff, right? You only need to change it in one spot. We don't need to change it everywhere on every single page, right? Hopefully you're understanding. Another big component of Foundation is going to be the way it manages text and content. Paul's asking, does Foundation 6 provide enough font functionality to remove the need to purchase Font Pro? I don't know. If you really want professional font loading from Okay, I don't want to dive into a sales pitch of Font Pro, but the short answer is Font Pro still has a lot, still gives you a lot, right? So it allows you to load your own web fonts, allows you to load from Adobe fonts. It has some cool stuff for recommended system fonts. And the Font Style Pro just has a lot more settings. So Font Pro is still there. It's still valid, and it's why it's integrated directly into Foundation 6. So yes, if you want really professional access to, customized line heights and, kerning and stuff like that, and obviously easy access to external font libraries, Font Pro is still going to be the bee's knees in terms of font management. In fact, if people use Font Pro, you probably won't be using these default ones that ship with Foundation. You'll be using Font Pro. Okay. Anyway, text. So text now, if you notice, is a markdown stack, right? So the way Foundation 1 handled text was not great. And well, it's not Foundation 1's fault. It was just the style text component within RapidWeaver and stacks. The code that it generates just is not amazing. Okay. But the markdown code here, that generates really, really clean code. I've talked about this quite a lot in previous episodes and previous live streams. I'm not going to go down the whole, site styles versus markdown. There's a lot to be said there, and I'll probably do more videos about it in the future. But we're getting close. I've already hit almost an hour, and I haven't gotten into a lot. I've only looked at site styles so far. So yeah, we have access to markdown now. Now, one thing I do want to note is what's really cool is it has markdown in here. Okay, but if you just want text, if you just want a paragraph, right? Just type in your paragraph in here. It just works. Okay. You don't need to be scared about the syntax. If you only want to use the text stack for a paragraph and you don't want to learn how to do a header, that's okay. Just do, do I have lorem? Oh, I do have lorem ipsum text on my clipboard. Nice. You know what? Just add your paragraph text into the text stack, and guess what? It'll be a paragraph, right? So, you can go as far or as little as you want with markdown as you want. Okay. You don't have to learn the syntax if you don't like, but it is very easy to use, and the code that it generates will make your site better for it. Okay. So yeah, the text stack now uses markdown. There still is a header stack. So we still have access to headers. So you can go ahead and add your header, and then you can have text in here. If you use the individual header stack, you have obviously a little bit more control, because we can add classes directly to the header, and we can, we have a few more styling options for headers than we have whether or not you add it directly into Markdown. Okay. So there still is a header stack. Text stack can be used for full-blown Markdown or just a simple paragraph. Okay. And let me show you a little example of the power of Markdown. So if you notice here, there's actually a table stack. There's a table stack inside Foundation 6 now, which is really cool. Look, we have full-blown tables in Foundation 6, right? But how do we accomplish that? Well, if we look at that, it's just Markdown, right? It's kind of tricky, right? Yeah. So we can build out full, beautiful tables in Markdown. And the syntax isn't insane, right? I created this really simple, example here for you. So you can kind of see kind of an example of how you would do that, right? But it's not rocket science. And, it's just a couple pipes with content, and there you go, right? But it's just a great example of how now the table stack is really the only tricky stack out there that kind of uses Markdown. But I thought that was a really clever stack to have to kind of show you guys the power of what we can do, right? So really excited about that. Okay. Where to go from here? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show, there are, I'll kind of give an overview of some of the other stacks. So obviously we have 1 columns and 2 columns and 3 columns and a 4 column stack. We only go up to 4 columns in Foundation 6. And those have all of the same similar settings to what you're already used to. And then a little bit more. Okay. Now the column stacks in particular, I wanted the settings to be as simple as possible. Okay. So if you notice here, let's go to one that's, let's go to the 2 column that is a little bit more tame. Let's just add some content into it. The heck, come on. There we go. Okay. So here we have, our column 1 sizing, our column 2 sizing. We can add some margins and padding and whatnot in between the columns. You can kind of see all that happen live. We have alignment options. So we can actually align content. We can center content by default. Columns are all equal height now by default in Foundation 6. So that's really, really awesome. We define the alignment for our content, right? So we could say, let's say we want these column stacks to all be centered aligned, right? So the content is all managed within that column. Because a lot of times when we want to center content, I set the content alignment to center. What that does is in the column, it'll center everything for you, right? So it's just little things like that where we can now manage the alignment of our entire layout all within the whole layout. Because a lot of times when you want to center something, you want to center everything within it, right? So that's a really nice thing. We have visibility now baked into every column stack. So you can really, again, that's just another small thing that allows us to have less stacks on the page, okay, which is going to make things faster. Sizing here, we can have small, medium, and large. So, we can say on small, we want this to be 4 columns. And then what's nice is that we now have auto sizing for columns. So like, here we have 4 on small, so it's still at 12 base grid, okay? But then we have auto on column 2, which will mean basically fill up the rest of the space, okay? But then we can change that, right? We can say we want that to be 5 and stuff like that, right? So here, like I have columns 4 and 5, but let's say I wanted those centered, right? We could just say I want those columns centered, and we're good to go, right? So this interface is really, really simple. You will also notice that I've moved away from mobile, tablet, desktop sizing to small, medium, large. And the reason for that is it's just kind of a mental switch where people, a lot of times, they'd set something to be one size on tablet, and they're like, well, I'm on my desktop. How come it's sized as a tablet, right? So, just to kind of help those people, we move to a small, medium, and large sizing. Because it really is based off, obviously, as you all know, the size of the browser. Okay, so you can simulate a small size just by reducing your browser width. It doesn't necessarily mean you're on a mobile device, right? So everything in now is labeled as small, medium, and large instead of mobile, tablet, desktop. Cool. So as I said, columns are really simple to use now. And we have a lot of really great alignment options. You're really going to love those. But for the power users, we have something new. I'm not going to dive into it right now. It's called Grid Pro, and you're going to love. You're going to love this. Let me show you an example of things that you could do with Grid Pro. When you add Grid Pro, you now have a lot more detailed settings for each column. Because right now in the column stacks, they're like global settings for all columns. Right? But now we can have really detailed settings for each column inside of your layout. So for example, here, I said I wasn't going to go into it, and here I am going into it. Let me show you an example of something you can do with Grid Pro. Let's do this. Okay, this is an example of actually something really cool. And you'll notice that I ship a ton of, right now there's 15 different templates that ship with Foundation 6, okay? And all have a lot more to come. And basically what they are is you drag a template out to the page, and let's look at what this does for us. I'm going to preview this in the browser so that we can see it. Oh, let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay. So it's this 2-column layout here, okay? And you'll notice is as I reduce, we can change the order of the columns to be whatever we want, right? Now we could do that. We could do that inside Foundation 1, but it was really tricky, right? If you ever played with a source order and you had to do like pushing and pulling of columns, and I know it made a lot of your brains hurt, right? But what I've done is it's now super simple to use. And not only that, but I also created this really simple template for you to do it. So it's already pre-done for you, right? So let's go ahead and unpack this template and we'll see exactly how it's done. So here I have a Grid Pro and I have a cell here. A cell is a column. Now, in edit mode, columns inside Grid Pro are always stacked on top of each other. So they don't display as a column view. Even though this is a 2-column layout, they display on top of each other, okay? Technical reasons, it's just the way it needs to happen, okay? But then all I need to do is, if you notice here, it's just these orders. So if we look over here inside I'm in the settings for this column, okay? We just go to the ordering settings, and on large, I just set it to be from the default order to be 1. And that was it. So you can now, based on the size, right? You can change the order of the columns based on small, medium, and large. Super, super simple. That power only exists though inside the Grid Pro. It's not in the normal columns because a lot of times that's not something that is, a normal kind of default habit, something we kind of want to do on our own. Just to kind of give you a glimpse now, here inside Grid Pro, like columns have very detailed settings for those that really want advanced settings. Obviously we still have the default simple settings, but we have a lot of advanced ones as well. We have vertical alignment of stuff. So like, for example, here, if I preview that, yeah, these are kind of, let's say I wanted to center align this content here, right? What I can do is I can go to vertical alignment, middle, okay? And if we go back to preview, we'll notice that it's as simple as that. It's baked in. This content is now vertical aligned, because this image is taller, right? So vertical alignment is baked in, really simple to use. By default, it's all top aligned, but yeah, all you do is set the alignment to be vertical, boom, like magic. It's all vertically aligned. Really, really simple. We've kind of reached the time. Picture is really powerful. Maybe I'll go into that next week. The picture component is super powerful in Foundation. It allows us to add, if you look at the picture stack by default, you can define a normal image as well as a retina image. Obviously, you can still warehouse, and it now also supports the banner feature that's baked into RapidWeaver. So if you want to use the banner feature that's in RapidWeaver, it'll use the banner image that you define inside the page inspector here. Okay. But I know a lot of you love warehousing. Warehousing's there. A lot of you love drag and drop. Drag and drop's there. But what's cool is this is something that's completely new. You can define a normal image and a retina version of that image. So you can define a lot of different versions. Now, what about, Joe? What about like small, medium, and large sizing? Like I want to define a different image for mobile, tablet, and desktop, right? Or small, medium, and large. So this is going to be your default image that you add here. Chances are this will be the mobile image that you add. This is going to be the smallest version of your image that you want to display on the site. And then if we click on this plus button inside the picture stack, we'll notice that we have a couple options here. We have a source, drag and drop, or a warehouse. So we can define whether or not we can provide alternate versions of our image via drag and drop or warehouse. Just for fun, let's look at warehouse because I know a lot of you guys really love warehousing. If we go to warehouse, you can define your URL to your image and a retina version. Okay. And you could say what type of image it is. You notice here we have JPEG, PNG, GIF, SVG, WebP, and MP4. Right? Really cool. Now you might be thinking, Joe, this is an image. Why am I going to have an MP4 file? Well, while GIFs are really cool, it has been proven that for a lot of stuff and a lot of instances, an MP4 version is actually going to be better and more compressed. You're going to get a better animation, a smaller file, with an MP4 version of that particular GIF. So we now allow you to add those. Now this is going to be something that is going to be like a GIF that just kind of loads. It has no sound, right? So this is just a kind of a benefit to have on the page. This isn't going to be a video that someone's going to click play and watch, right? This isn't a video that's going to be used to watch or teach something. It's just basically a replacement, a higher resolution version of a GIF that will take up less space. Okay. And then what you could do is here in the media query, you could define where you want to use that image. So do you want to use it on medium, large? I provided a couple other interesting ones, such as aspect ratio. So if the aspect ratio of the browser window is, 16:9 or greater, it'll, show that image. If something is in portrait mode, so you can define a different image when something is in portrait mode. You can use dark mode, so you can target dark mode with an image. And you can also provide custom media queries. So if you want, if you're kind of a CSS ninja and you want to define a custom media query, you can do that as well. But what's cool is that you can provide as many of these as you want, right? So I can define multiple. I can provide one for small, one for medium, or what you do is you probably do large and then medium and then small. Because basically what the browser is going to do is it's going to go down this list, and the first one that the query matches, it'll use that image. And then the one that's defined inside the default picture stack is like the default image used for everything. So if you just want the same image everywhere, you don't need to add any of these child stacks at all. And basically that'll be your setup right there. Okay. Cool. So that's the picture stack. Menus, I know a lot of you want menus, but I got to leave some awesome stuff for next week. So we're not going to look at menus right now, but menus are really cool. They're very flexible inside Foundation. We have a lot of other content stacks. So I went over headers already. Block quotes. We have block quotes. We have something cool called details. And what that is here, let's just add in. Let's just add in a couple of these. Okay. What details give us is kind of like a very simple accordion, right? There's zero JavaScript involved here. So it's just very extremely performant, extremely fast on the page. And sometimes you just need something really simple like this. So you could provide a title and then content, right? This content could contain images and all kinds of other stuff, right? But it's just a very simple accordion. We actually have an accordion as well, like a full blown accordion that has, animated things and all that jazz, right? But this detail stuff is just, a lot of times you just want something a little bit simpler. So we give you a lot of options within Foundation 6. We have code boxes, definition lists, which are kind of like a special version of a list. We have labels. I didn't even get into buttons, which is a big thing. There's all kinds of button options now. We have button groups. We have the ability, obviously, to open up a light box and off canvas and all that stuff as we did before. We still have accordions and call outs. We have something cool called a caption, which is a really simple way. Here, let me just show you really quick what it is. I deleted that picture stack. Let's just go ahead and add a new one. Let's just go ahead and we'll add in this picture, right? So I have a picture and I have a caption. And if we preview that, it's a way of, whoops. What happened there? Oh, I forgot. I didn't fix that bug. 1 second. That bug's, I fixed it in 605, but I probably don't have 605 installed on this machine. Interesting. There you go. That's what it does. Sorry about that. So basically it'll put a caption on top of an image for you. It's just a really simple way of doing that. There was a bug in 604 that I fixed in 605 already, but that's on my laptop. So there's that. Man, there's so much there. I didn't even get, forms. I didn't even get into forms, how cool and powerful forms are going to be. They're even more flexible and just really, really cool. Here's just a quick example. Let's look at, I have 3 different templates for forms. I know I'm way over time already, but let's just look at a couple of these. So here's like a template of a 2-column form, right? So you can have, labels on one side, and here's your fields on the right side, right? And then here is an example of a contact form. So here's just, if you just want a contact form, here's a pre-baked contact form for you out of the box. It has name, email, comments, and a submit button, right? So you don't even need to worry about building this. I've already pre-baked a simple form for you. And then here is another one that is a really cool subscribe form. So here, let's just preview these really quick. So up here, this version up here, this top one is a subscribe form. You have your email address with a submit button. It's an inline form, right? And then here's our normal contact, which is name, email, comments, and click submit, right? So yeah, forms are really powerful. And accessibility, man, I put a lot of work into the accessibility. I know that's kind of the rage nowadays, especially with, the Domino's Pizzas lawsuits and the Martha Stewart or someone else got sued for not having an accessible website. Oh, Beyonce, that's who it was. And so, yeah, accessibility has been a big part of Foundation 6, especially in forums. There is a lot of stuff that happens with accessibility. And so your site is going to be accessible to the hilt when you use Foundation forms and the rest of the Foundation components. So I'm really excited about that. Here, I'm going to wrap up with a fun one. I should have shown this one earlier, and it's called a blob. And this is a template that I created, and it really has no purpose other than it just being really fun. Okay. Oh, did I not rebuild? Hold on one second. That reminds me, I have to, I'm going to have to, hold on, give me 1 second here. I just got to do something really quick. There was a bug in one of the builds that I need to rebuild this for. So let's just do this really quick. Okay, I think that'll do it. Oh, did I break this swatch? Oh no, I broke it. What did I do? It's the width that's wrong. I'll have to fix this swatch. I think I looked at it. Let's just call this blob. Oops. And I want a simple width. Oh, I know why. All right. Yeah, it's going full width. But what it does is that'll be fixed this week, I promise. It basically makes this kind of this blob. That's kind of like the cool thing now. People have like these blobs on the page just to kind of as like a little cool accent thing. As you see, it kind of has a funky round corner thing going on. Imagine if it was here, let me fix it really quick in the code so we can see it. There it goes. That's what it should look like. There's a blob. The class was just getting applied to the wrong thing. So here's the blob. So this is just a cool example of the cool things that we could do with swatches, right? So this blob wasn't a stack. It's just a one column with some swatches applied to it, right? So let's analyze that. I have a one column with a header. The one column has a custom class of blob. And that's it. Okay. Now, if we look at our swatches, let's go here and let's look at all the detailed swatches here. I have a background color. We can make it fancy. We can have a gradient blob. So now I have a gradient blob. Okay. We can, I set the width to be 224 pixels. I set the rounding. There's some really advanced rounding settings to kind of get some really odd shapes. Obviously, there's simple rounding settings, which are just like, I want 10 pixel rounding, right? But you can get pretty crazy with some of the detailed rounding settings. It's a lot of fun. I add a drop shadow. I give it a static height of 224 pixels. And then I have a margin stack that adds some margins around it. And that magically gives me a blob. So as you see with something like this, with swatches, I've created my own thing, right? I didn't need to go buy a blob stack. There actually is a pretty awesome blob stack from Tav. But I just wanted to show you, this is a great example of how you can take a one column and really make something special out of it just with some swatches, all baked into Foundation 6. So, yeah, with that, I am going to, here, let's see if I can, I'll peruse the chat box really quick to see if I have any other lasting questions. Can nav be used outside of a container? Yes, you can add navigation to whatever you want, Bill. Thank you, Joe, for all you're doing in Foundation 6. I like that you show us the tips and tricks about the next weeks. Okay, yep. So the next coming weeks, next week I'll do another live stream, and probably the week after that I'll do another live stream. Hopefully by the week after that we'll have it released to the world. Earlier on, if you joined in late, I put in a URL in the chat box. I will keep that URL open for about an hour or so for you to upgrade. You can upgrade. You get 20% off if you're a previous owner of Foundation. Just purchase Foundation 6 with the same exact email that you bought Foundation 1 with. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? I'm just coming off a bad case of the flu. Sorry you had the flu, bud. Container. Scott asked about containers. The container. Yes. So the way we define our site width now is with the container. So that 1200 pixel setting in site styles is done via a container stack. However, there are special width settings in the container to make it full width or to do whatever you want, right? But that's a good question. So Mike asks, when's the best time to use a container stack? So container stacks, as that's what Scott was saying. I should have read it in reverse order. Yeah, when you want to contain something within the site width. So if you just added a column stack to the top of the page without it being inside of a container, it'll go full width. Same thing with 2 columns or 3 columns. The columns will spread as wide as it can. It's the container stack that contains your website to the site width. Okay. I should note also there is a group on Weaverspace, the community, for Foundation Early Access. So jump in there and ask questions and share what you're doing. If you find any issues, let me know. One thing I should say is there is still a little bit of wonkiness with Total CMS and Foundation 6. Obviously, I'm going to work on that. It's my product. I need them both to work together. It's mostly just some styles and CSS stuff that are a little funky. So we'll be working on that in the coming weeks to make sure that is all good. Oh, Scott says, Joe, show the source. Yes. So one thing that is also another selling factor of Foundation is I challenge anyone that looks at the web source of a Foundation 6 project and can tell the difference between a hand-coded site and the one that is done with Foundation 6. If you guys care, I know there are a small percentage of users that really care about this, but I care about this as well. Like, the code that it outputs is so pristine. It is if I was going to hand code this website. Okay. It is no different, right? It has zero extra fluff. And that is what makes it really powerful, really mean. And it will make your sites faster because of it, you know? And the real main reason for this, is, you know, if you've ever looked at the code of a generated web page, I mean, there are like, for every stack you add to the page, there were 2 stacks divs, stacks underscore in underscore page, blah, 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 right? And there were stacks underscore out, right? So there was a stacks in and a stacks out for every stack you added to the page. So, and pages tend to get quite difficult or quite complex. So, now we have 0 of those, right? So that's a huge difference. And you notice that Google page speed actually, one of the metrics they measure by now is the number of DOM elements on your page, and it will dock your page speed score. And so your page speed scores from this alone will jump up purely because this site will look hand-coded. It will have no extra fluff. Obviously, I can't control any sort of extra fluff added by any non-foundation stacks. But any stack that I've released in the past 12 months and Foundation 6 will have zero extra fluff, like zero. It only has exactly what it needs. Okay, so yeah, just the one. That's a great point. Thank you for mentioning that, Scott. Cool. So yeah, so Mike actually says Foundation 1 was $100 for all add-on packs. There are no add-on packs for Foundation 6. You get everything in one stack now. I didn't split it up into starter pack, add-on pack 1, add-on pack 2. It's all inside Foundation 6 dot stack. So there is one stack now, and there is a lot more. There is total of about 180 stacks now shipping with Foundation. I shouldn't note the templates that you saw me use today, those like starter templates, those are a separate download. It's a free download. It's right now, just go to that the group on the Foundation early access on Weaver Space, and there's a post pinned to the top. And you can just download that. It's a free download, and that contains all of the templates that I showed today and a lot more. And that stack will be updatable. So I'll be updating that free stack when I ship new ones. Okay. Instead of a book, will you make a video series on Foundation 6? Yes. I do plan on doing video series for Foundation 6. And Foundation 6 will not overwrite Foundation 1. It will work as a completely separate stack set in your system. It will not overwrite anything. Okay, so all your existing Foundation 1 sites will continue to work with Foundation 1 because those stacks aren't going to be touched with this update. Essentially, again, this is like a completely separate stack install. You don't need to worry about that at all. Do I have a link for that? Julia, the link for I'm assuming you're talking about the templates. It's on Weaver Space. Head over there. It's a free download link. It's a pinned post at the top of the Foundation beta group. So go ahead and find that. Do I have maybe a link for I'll put in a link to the actual, to the group. Let me get that really quick. Here is a link. It's open to the public. Anybody can join this group. But that is the group. I just put it in the chat room. That is the actual space. And as you'll see in there, the very first post in there is the download to the templates, the free download. So what about blogs? How does it work now? So Foundation doesn't have a blog. It never has. If you want to use a blog, there are several blogging solutions out there. Obviously I love and use Total CMS as my blog. But there are other ones out there, and they should work in Foundation 6. I mean, there's nothing in Foundation 6 that shouldn't break anything. I say that I said earlier, Total CMS has some, but that's because Total CMS had some Foundation 1 specific stuff in it. That kind of made it special for Foundation users. And I just need to tweak that a little bit so that it also works with Foundation 6. So, and then Total CMS 2 is coming next year, and that will be completely revamped, and that won't have any issues either. So cool. So many dopies, Joe. Yeah. When I was a kid, Scott, that was my thing. I had a lot of dopies, and people just kept buying them for me. So, I haven't gotten any new dopies for quite a while, but that was my boy, dopey. I have a little case back there, that has a bunch of stuff. And then I got that big guy right over here. Actually got two of them over there. You can't see one. You can kind of see the edge of it, but, yeah, it's kind of a dopey. He's a happy guy. I'm a happy guy. It's kind of how it kind of came out. So, cool. I think we answered all the questions here. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and post on the Weaver Space community or shoot me an email. If you shoot me an email, it might take me a little long to get back to you, a couple days, a day or two. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, keep a note of that link and enjoy. Is $79.95 already with 20% off? Yes. The price is $99.95, Jeremy. The discounted price is $79.95. So that is the 20% off. Cool. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoy Foundation 6. I can't wait for you guys to use it and play around with it even more. And we will see you next week. Oh, if you want to join the Hangouts this Friday and talk to me directly, we can actually discuss things face to face. Join me on my Hangouts this Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And we will talk all about Foundation 6. You can ask all the questions you want to your heart's content. And hopefully a lot of you can join then, and we'll have some fun. And we will talk to you soon next week. See you later.